Welcome to Warhammer General Tactics. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at a Flesh Eater Court's army list.
General Tactics.
Another General Tactics episode, this one featuring a Flesh Eater Court's army. In the last Warscroll review, we did ghouls, and before that, ghasts. These two reviews were a ton of fun, so I figured I'd share a list featuring the tactics we covered. The army list is not too off the wall and may actually be something you encounter in your games. The list starts with the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist as the general, backed up by two Crypt Gas Courtiers and another Aberrant Ghoul King, this one on foot. The main brunt of the army is in the battle line, which is pretty normal for Flesh Eater Courts. In this case, we have two maxed out 40-man Crypt Ghoul units as well as one more Ghoul unit with minimum size of 10 models. It may be obvious at this point, but we're including the Ghoul Patrol Warscroll Battalion. One of the ghasts and all three units of ghouls will be incorporated into this. As for allies, we have a Corpse Cart with Unholy Lodestone, as well as a Necromancer. And to finish off the list, we'll be taking the Chronomatic Cog's Endless Spells. As you can see, we'll have 50 points remaining, giving us another command point when the game starts. As we are taking the Flesh Eater Court's Allegiance abilities, we will be taking a Delusion. In most cases, we will be choosing Crusading Army. This lets you reroll both run and charge rolls. As an army-wide buff, this is nice since it lets you save CP otherwise used on At the Double and Forward to Victory. This is good because you'll be needing all those CPs in this army. For command traits, the Ghoul King will be a Majestic Horror. This pretty much auto-include trait allows the player to use their summoning command ability twice. The Ghoul King on Terrorgeist can summon a unit of Crypt Horrors or Flayers, so this effectively gives you another unit for free. As far as magic items, the Ghoul King will also be holding the Gryff Feather Charm. This is a magic artifact from Gur and can be found in the Malign Sorcery book. This one gives our big beastie -1 to hit and +1 to move. At full wounds, our big guy will be moving 15 inches, and the -1 will really increase its chances of surviving enemy attacks. Since we included a Warscroll battalion, we get another magic artifact. The other one will be given to the Crypt Gas Courtier that leads the Ghoul Patrol. For this, we will be using a Flesh Eater Court's item, the Flayed Pennant. This item is a once per game ability that adds 3 to charge ranges. Pretty massive. The ghouls are pretty much the main focus of the army, with the Terrorgeist also able to deal some damage. With the Ghoul Patrol and the Ghoul King's command ability, the Flesh Eaters can provide an effective first turn charge. While the enemy deals with that, the rest of the ghouls will be grabbing objectives and growing due to the Ghoul Patrol's other special ability. To get this all to happen, we have to start with deployment. This should be fairly easy, but will take a slight amount of planning. The models included in the Ghoul Patrol are all deployed in reserves, so no space needed for them. Pretty much just your characters and support models will be deployed on the table. Hide them as much as possible, hopefully completely out of line of sight for the infantry models. The Terrorgeist will have a bit of protection from the -1 to hit, but will probably not be getting out of line of sight. Keep them near a table edge so the ghouls will be able to deploy near them. Most of the characters should be safe for the one turn, but if the opponent has some ridiculous first turn charge, you could be in for some trouble. I suppose if you are definitely losing something first turn, I'd spread the characters out, hoping to keep some of them safe. Be sure to have some idea of where you'll be deploying the main brunt of the ghouls to make your alpha strike, and where the rest of the ghouls will sit and grow. In the first turn, the Ghoul Patrol is going to be doing its thing and dumping off all the ghouls. More specifically, the Ghoul Patrol lets the ghouls deploy in the first turn along the board edges more than 9 inches away from enemy models. The plan is to drop one of the 40 model units right in the opponent's face. At the same time, blow 2 of your command points on using the Ghoul King's command ability twice. Choosing between Crypt Horrors and Crypt Flayers is somewhat dependent on what you're fighting. Check out the kit compare on the channel for crypt flayers and horrors. I'll leave a link in the description. In most cases, I'd recommend the crypt horrors. You could try to boost them with reroll to hit bonus from the Ghoul King. But don't underwrite the crypt flayer's high movement. The flayers also have the advantage of being able to fly over ghouls and enemy units, so they won't get stuck in the crypt ghast's wholly within flayed pennant aura. But remember that they'll have to live through the next turn for that to even matter. Throwing this much stuff in the opponent's face will throw them off, but they should be able to clear out a good bit of it, so the flayers may not get another chance to move. The units are all hopefully deploying just over 9 inches from the enemy. The trick here to reliably charge after deploying is twofold. The first is casting the endless spell Chronomatic Cogs. Summon these bad boys and then speed up time, giving every model in the battlefield +2 to move and charge. Yes, this affects the enemy, but the idea is the enemy will be too busy dealing with the stuff you just threw at them to really make use of the extra movement to move across the battlefield. Also, next turn, just slow time back down to get the extra spell casting and reroll save. The other thing you need to do to ensure the unit's charge is activating the Flayed Pennant. As mentioned, this will be increasing charge moves by 3. Paired with the cogs, we are increasing our charges by 5 inches. This is pretty crazy and means we will only have to roll a 4 on 2d6, plus we're re-rolling that for free due to the Crusading Army buff. As long as you could get set up 9 inches away, you are all but guaranteed to get the ghouls and both units of horrors in combat in your first turn. The reason I allotted the third command point is to try to keep the ghouls around longer. Most likely they will take some heavy casualties in this turn or the next, so keeping that extra CP around for inspiring presence should keep this unit of ghouls on the table longer. In the next turn, you'll be able to heal them back with the Courtier and then increase their ranks even more with the Ghoul Patrol's second ability. To make them as damaging as possible, you can try to get the Crypt Gas into combat and get the hero to slay an enemy model. This will allow you to increase the attacks to a nearby ghoul unit through the special ability Trophy Hunter. After the first turn, you can go a step further and give them the Ghoul King's spell Black Hunger. This one gives them another attack, giving them a grand total of 5 attacks per ghoul in units of 20 or more. Anything that needs to die will have to be killed with quantity because there is very little quality to this army. The hope is, by the time the opponent is done with this blitz, they don't have the time to either destroy the rest of the army or grab objectives. The second unit of 40 ghouls can go up with the Alpha Strikers, but more likely, they will be better used to screen for the support characters. If the support characters are close enough to the table edge, the oncoming ghouls can just move in front of them. Also, in the first movement phase, think about where the support characters can move to support the ghouls. If you want to buff the forward unit of ghouls, run them up the field. With the Terrorgeist, this shouldn't be that hard to move in range to both cast on them next turn and trigger the horrors and the ghouls reroll to hit ability this turn. While that's what the main parts are doing, let's discuss the other components to the army. My intention is for the Necromancer to cast the cogs, but really any wizard can do it. Since the ghouls aren't on the table in your first hero phase, the spells won't be able to target them. In this case, I'd certainly throw the Mounted Ghoul King's Unholy Vitality on itself to keep it even more protected. The other Ghoul King could put Mystic Shield on the Terrorgeist as well, which should keep it fairly defensive in their first turn. The Corpse card is there to ensure the cogs get summoned first turn. They cast on a 7, which obviously is the average on 2 dice, but getting the +1 helps mitigate below average rolling as well as protects the spell from being unbound by an enemy wizard. Not getting the cogs off really hurts your chances of getting the Alpha Strike off. In your first movement phase, position the support characters in places they can support the new ghouls. After the first turn, the Ghoul Kings will be free to cast their support spells on the ghouls themselves, either the ones fighting on the front lines or the ones chilling in your backfield. Because of the Ghoul Patrol, the units sitting back will be able to increase above starting numbers, which is usually music to the opponent's ears. You'll also have another courtier back here to restore any models the enemy shoots away. There are a few things I am not 100% decided on and would welcome you to make changes if you are interested in fielding the list. First of all, you may be asking why I included the Necromancer at all, but in my mind, it was either this, a Varghulf courtier, or another Ghoul King on foot. I chose the Necromancer simply because it left 50 points for a third command point, almost definitely going to be used on Inspiring Presence. The Varghulf would have been cool to run down the field and hopefully regenerate ghouls and horrors, and the Ghoul King on foot can offer up another chance for its sweet spell, Black Hunger. This is perfect for one of the hordes of ghouls, but would also significantly increase the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist's potential in combat. The other thing I could see people wanting to drop is the Corpse Cart. I personally think it's a cheap addition that is very helpful, but I can see how someone may be willing to risk it since the casting value, 7, is the average roll. I don't see a lot of great uses for these points though, even if you added on the extra points from dropping the Necromancer. I suppose if you were able to find a few more points, you could swap out these things for Archon the Black. He actually provides +2 to cast, but has a big target on his back and will fairly easily get shot down. I think I'd rather have the small bodies to hide since there will be no screen first turn. Hopefully not confusing things, but one more point is if you drop the Ghoul King and one of the Ghasts. You could max out the third unit of ghouls, which would make your army the epitome of endless hordes. Instead of investing in more support characters, you get more of what you wanted to begin with, ghouls. Imagine increasing 3 units of 40 ghouls beyond starting size. It would be bonkers. Moving on with our review, I have to bring up weaknesses. Flesh Eater Courts in general really lack mortal wound output, and this army doesn't really change that. The Terrorgeist can scream, and you could potentially summon in 2 units of Crypt Flayers to also scream, but these are all fairly unreliable sources of mortal wounds, and thus really won't get the job done. Moreover, doing damage in general will be a slow process. Ghouls are just going to attempt to smother the opponent in attacks to deal their damage. Against armies with high armor saves, the ghouls may struggle. Another weakness to note is it isn't particularly fast. While the ghouls deploy where they want to, after that they are just moving with their 6-inch movement. They can reroll their run roll, but that will only get them so far. One way to mitigate this is by restoring models to the front of the unit to expand towards your destination. Well, there you have it. Another General Tactics list review. Let me know if you like the list or don't like the list. Also let me know what you might change. I have other Flesh Eater Warscroll reviews on the channel, so check out the Flesh Eater Courts playlist for more information on specific units. Let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and questions in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.